It turns me on to destroy lives. Ain't that right, Andrew? Welcome
Hey, that's my
to
kind of
another.
guy.
Exactly. Welcome to the what is this number four technically, but number five of Legacy Right live, and we got a very special, uh, improv special going away from the politics. Although we'll probably jump into politics somehow. It always happens. Going away from the politics, going away from the economics, going away from everything else that we always talk about. So, but let's get this show going, man. We got a special guest for y'all. I mean, I love him to death, man. He's my brother. But we'll
It,
introduce you to him as soon as we get to some plugs and the introduction. I am the legacy of Jennifer and Kaiser. I am Zachary Kaiser. I am your El Capitan. I am your captain of this enterprise. The Enterprise D. Fuck the E. I am Captain Picard. This is my number one, William Riker, aka Andrew Joseph. And
hey,
welcome to the show
I'm
there,
here.
Andrew.
I'm here to solicit a plug salesman, and you're the guy that told me that he's gonna hook me up today. Is that right? Or is it the new? Is it the guy that we're introducing?
Actually, you know what? You're bald. You be Picard. I'll be Riker.
Okay.
Riker got the pussy, anyways. Uh, so, anyways, no drum roll, no laughs. That was unfunny. I'm not Dave Smith.
I know.
Damn, if only I was Dave Smith. But let's
You're
go.
Zachary Kaiser.
Go down, repost this all over X, get people to view, enjoy the show, rock it out, share it live. Go subscribe to YouTube, The Legacy Right. Follow us on everywhere across the podcast sphere, and help us out. Because if you help us out, we help you out. Because we want to expand this thing and get you everything, basically, besides just a message. But in the meantime, you want some real hardcore politically charged shit from one man that has a lot to fucking say. The number one podcast or the number one libertarian podcast in Detroit. That's Buds in Reality with Sean Collins, a man that I just said he has a lot to say. He just recently had Jack Lloyd on, so don't miss that episode because that is just straight up fire. I mean, anytime Jack Lloyd is up, I mean, that's
That's a
going to
good
be
program.
fire. It's going to be a great program. So, Buds in Reality, go follow him. Go follow him all over the social medias. Go follow him everywhere that you can find the podcast. Leave him a review and check him out. Buds in Reality. So, and another one, man. Who touched the thermostat? Who touched it.com. I know it doesn't say that right there. Wrong picture. But who touched it.com for all your
I have to
Liberty
buy that.
apparel.
I'm gonna buy that domain name and redirect it.
Communism is demonic.
It is.
Yeah. So, but that's not what we're going to talk about. But we may jump into some demon shit. So let's introduce our guest there, Andrew. Uh, this is my brother from another mother, my best friend. I've known him since I was 15 years old. Oddly enough, we actually got into a fight when we were 15, and we ended up becoming the best of friends and basically brothers, man. I've known this motherfucker for 20 years, and I love him to death. Andrew's known him for just as long. Let's bring him on. His name is, no pun intended, yes, it is Zach. Welcome to the show there,
Hey, what's
Zach.
going on?
What's up, guys? Nice to be here. I'm just here to
So,
sell some hair plugs.
are you, yeah,
Hey,
that's what I knew. I knew it. I knew he was a hair plug salesman. Andrew wants a cat though.
Oh well,
yeah.
I'm not much of a pussy salesman.
Oh,
Uh,
well,
I might be
what are you into
some
the
I
lot
try.
lizard?
some strays around.
Bring around-
I
There,
tried,
there,
Andrew.
there might be some
yeah.
strays around here.
Well, I
Anyway,
mean,
Uh,
if you do need to find some pussy, there is a lot of pussy around Zach's house. So
Cat got your tongue?
Oh man, yeah, it's pretty bad.
So,
Everywhere.
well,
Anyway, I'm
how-
sorry. This is starting off great.
well, that's how we break the ice, man. This is
Yeah,
how we
man.
are. We are an off the cuff program where,
Yeah,
I mean, you jump in, we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna break it down. We're gonna
sure.
get into some shenanigans. Because as Andrew said backstage, go ahead, Andrew, call it what it is.
We're canceled before we're cool.
Well, that too, but it's a shit show. The shit
Yeah.
show is a shit show. So this is a shit show, and we're that's what it is. You know, if we're not smiling and laughing, then what the hell are we doing with our lives?
Yeah, no doubt.
That's
man.
right. That's
So,
the Joker said, "Why aren't you laughing?"
Right?
but
I just think everything's funny. But yeah,
everything's a meme.
I've known Zach for shit. What was it? 20 years now. Feel like pretty much
Oh,
my
it's-
whole life, and I'm just glad to be on here. And seem like we'll have a cool conversation, and ready to see what we
Always.
talk about.
Exactly. Me and
right.
Zach. Funny story here, guys. Me and Zach actually tried to start a podcast. It was called the Midnight Hour, like
Oh,
years
yeah.
ago.
Plug it.
And
Yeah.
most of the time, we were just literally trying to get the format down, and
Yeah,
we would record pretty much for ourselves
yeah,
because we just got bored and tired of working on trying to get it. We were so perfectionist, like it had to be perfect.
just
So.
I guess it was like we were inspiring to be like some of the greats, like, and it is what it is. I'd like to revisit it one day. But
Oh yeah.
I always felt like we always had something to say. It's just, does anyone want to hear what we have to say? But
Exactly.
Well, it
you
takes
know,
Well,
repetition, right?
yeah, you
So
just gotta
it does.
give it a shot and just keep going. And like
Mm-hmm.
what you guys are doing, it seems like it's a cool format. If you're passionate about it, keep going. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why not?
Yeah. I mean, I'm so passionate that I made sure I got a boom arm so I can so I can eat the mic. Oh.
Absolutely.
Ah.
Yeah. So you can actually hear me, and it's not an echo, man. So I mean that's what gets annoying. Like you got something to say, you want people to be able to say it. So I mean Andrew just needs to get a
Right.
toupee and we're all good. Cover that
That's it. The
baldness.
podcast is over.
That's it. That was the episode. Donate.
No,
Yeah.
series is gone.
Donate for yeah. So donate at the end of the show. Uh
Yeah.
there'll be some funny wrestling shenanigans going on. Donate for Andrew's
Yeah.
sake so he can get a toupee or a cat.
Neither
So,
are cheap.
but I think the cat would be. I honestly, I think the toupee would be cheaper. It, with
Probably.
this,
Yeah,
yeah,
probably. But
with
where's the
the
fun in a toupee?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
so old fashioned.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, for like, you could just get a cat and a ball cap.
A
Now, why are you
Cleveland.
bleeding there, sir? I don't know. Maybe
Well,
I
that's-
didn't beat my hat.
Yeah, that's where you get a red cap.
Yeah.
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 Oh, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. So, but let's get into it. So we don't bore everybody with our shenanigans and our reminiscing. It's great that we got Zach on here, and I mean, like I said, man, I've been wanting to do this. I've been wanting to get him back on the podcasting field for a long time, so he can get his feet wet again.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we'll start a show tomorrow.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
So, but speaking of like current events, Florida literally just got fucked twice. I mean, and luckily Milton, when it hit, it didn't hit in the trajectory that it was supposed to in Tampa,
Does it
and it
ever?
did. Yeah, thank God. Yeah, but it also downgraded to a Category 3. But still, I mean, two hurricanes in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. That's insane. And then on top of that, with Helene, I mean, and the chaos and the dysfunction that's going on and just the mess that everybody's picking up with that is just insane. I mean, especially in the mountain. Like, hit this, a hurricane, not a hurricane, hit the mountains. Like, it was still technically a hurricane, or maybe it downgraded to a tropical storm, but it was still a tropical storm that hit the mountains of Tennessee, North and South Carolina, West South Carolina. Otherwise, Andrew would have been touched, and East Tennessee. Like, how does that even happen? Like, is the government like going in overdrive? Like, we're tinfoil hat time. I know HARP exists, so, but I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm sure you
is the
guys look.
government? Oh, go ahead, Zach.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sure you guys looked into like you saw like where there were these certain types of mines where they were mining like a certain element. I can't
Lithium.
maybe lithium
Yeah.
mines
Yeah,
there,
there's a.
and
Mhm.
they were like obviously like the towns were going against these companies and trying to get them to basically stop expanding so much, because you worked with some of the guys that we worked with that were from like Denny and that I won't
Yeah,
say their last names, but that were from southern Kentucky, northern Tennessee, Martin County, down there, and they
yeah.
would always talk of strip mining and strip mines
Mhm.
and just desolate areas of places that were mined to death and just left as like unused scorched earth basically,
Mhm.
where nothing grows. You can't build there. You can't, it's just scrap. So I think a lot of these smaller towns are wanting to basically move away from that type of mining techniques and practices. And the conspiracy that I've heard is that you know all of a sudden these specific areas are almost targeted to flood, where the entire town is
Mhm.
basically destroyed, and then these people are losing their homes, losing their livelihoods, and then they're leaving, and then who stands to benefit from that? Like, if you always follow the dollar, as they say, and you
Yeah.
when you follow the money back, it seems like it would. I don't know any of this for certain. Obviously, it's just we're speculation, but like it looks awfully peculiar that these
It does.
companies that were in these talks, and that we know for a fact that that's what they were doing, and these large
Mhm.
contracts with lithium for cell phones, computers,
Mhm.
electric parts were all coming from that town, and
Well, it's
now
yeah,
it doesn't
it's
exist.
amazing. Yeah, it's amazing that's the case because like you have like what was one thing one law that Biden signed was that microchip. Yeah, that microchip law, right? And then of course you have his inflation proof infrastructure bill,
Oh, of course.
Bidenomics, everybody. Yeah, and I think the company that was able to receive the contracts and buy footing in and around Asheville was actually Duke, of all companies, Duke Energy.
Right.
So, and then all of a sudden you have this hurricane come through. I mean, and it basically a once in a lifetime event, right? Catastrophic. They're not ready for it because who's going to expect a tropical storm to come up as a tropical storm in the middle of eastern Tennessee, right? So you don't
Yeah.
have these dams are not ready for it.
Right.
The infrastructure is not ready for it. The bridges aren't ready for it. These towns are just not ready for it. Power grids, you name it. I mean, I mean, and then on top of that, I don't know about you guys, but it seems within the last couple years, because I see it up in the sky with the planes and the contrails or chemtrails, whatever you want to call them. But it seems that they're cloud seeding, like in overdrive. Like our own government is seeding the atmosphere and getting it built up and ready to contain something. Maybe it's to fill the gap of this climate change narrative. Maybe it's just to help out society. It doesn't matter. Anything that might be beneficial that the government does is never beneficial. I mean, even if
Yeah. In most
so.
cases, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Someone always tends to benefit. You
Mm-hmm.
know, with that topic, it's interesting to me because I don't want to misquote anything, but like I've heard that like historically speaking, there was a gentleman who had was starting these like basically he's talking about doing these controlled fires. This was maybe back in the 50s,
Mm-hmm.
doing these controlled forest fires in Tennessee and allowing like burning up a lot of Appalachia to go to so smoke and like the heat could move up into the atmosphere to potentially control the weather. We know for a fact there's papers on it. There's documents that
Mm-hmm.
have come out that the government has tried to mess with weather. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure this isn't the first time and it won't be the last. Like
Yeah.
we know that for a fact now basically that the government has attempted it. And if it isn't the government, it's some science organization or some group of people out there trying to,
Mm-hmm.
play God or manipulate the weather. Of course, I mean,
Yeah.
think of the application of that, no more
It's a
drought,
perfect
no more,
weapon for War Two.
right, right.
Say that again,
And
Andrew.
I said it's a perfect weapon for War Two.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You can move your troops when it's you know, fine and then create a monsoon, which, supposedly in Vietnam they had talked about forcing the rain and that was another
Mm-hmm.
conspiracy where some of these like obviously it's a tropical climate in Vietnam and all that stuff but
Mm-hmm.
some of these monsoons and these like just torrential downpours were just unheard of even at that time in that climate. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of GIs and soldiers over there were talking about I get it, they're not used to the weather there, but and like you had said with the infrastructure, like look at what happened in Texas a couple years ago when it snowed,
Oh,
and they
yeah.
like it was shutting down the entire like state of Texas. Every town in
Mm-hmm.
Texas is not set up for that. They don't have
No.
furnaces. Like like
Mm-mm.
your home doesn't have that stuff. The cars aren't meant for it. Like
Mm-hmm.
they don't even sell like you probably couldn't get tire chains in the whole state of Texas. Like
Yeah.
that they're
Maybe
just not.
certain parts, maybe to the
Yeah,
north, maybe, but I
yeah, they're
mean,
just not.
no.
Yeah, exactly. But like
Mm-hmm.
southern Texas and stuff, they're not prepared for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like
No,
it's
no.
like look at a car from the Midwest compared to one that's out in Colorado where we have so much. One,
Mm-hmm.
we have to deal with salted roads. We have to deal with that. We have to deal with a lot more
Mm-hmm.
moisture in the air. Like rust is a big thing here. You go look at a
Yeah.
car that's 20 years old in Montana or something, or no, not maybe not Montana, like Colorado or something.
Mm-hmm.
In certain climates where it's Arizona, it looks like a brand new car still
Oh,
underneath
yeah.
because
Yeah.
as long as you kept care of it, you're not dealing with rust and the
Mm-hmm.
weather elements quite as bad.
Hmm. And I like how you brought up the wildfire ordeal because as we're speaking right now, like since October 11th, actually, and maybe even earlier, but Wyoming is on fire right now. And then of course you had the Canadian wildfires last year. And I think most of it was in like Ontario, which is even weirder for some place for Ontario to have wildfires. They have wildfires all the time in like British Columbia and Alberta and all that, but it was not where you expected it. And then of course you have the wildfire. Now it's been a year, but I think it's been like what 10 or 11 months since the Maui fires, which that's pretty strange in
Right,
itself
its
because.
own conspiracy, absolutely.
Mhm.
Like some of the
Well,
shit that
I
was going on in Maui was just
yeah,
absurd.
yeah. Well, another weird conspiracy tinfoil hat, everybody, is like the hedge fund company, the asset management company BlackRock. I mean, we're always hearing BlackRock. They have like a stake over in Hawaii. So like it's very coincidental if if they have a stake over there and these fires occurred. Just randomly, I don't buy it, because I mean you don't expect fires, a wildfire in Maui. But then at the other end of that is
The
they
spectrum.
weren't their, yeah, their spectrum, their infrastructure really wasn't up to date either. So you could theoretically say, well, maybe they're expanding as people with the means are moving to a tropical climate. Hawaii is a high standard of living, so a lot of well-off individuals are going, and their families are going there. Sometimes just for a vacation home, but the infrastructure, the power grid, is just not up to date either. But at the same time, it's just like there's too many coincidences. I mean, in the framework of things, to just say, well, this just happened, like it was an accident or it was natural. It's like maybe it was a laser beam, like the tinfoil hat people are saying. Like I wouldn't put it past our military, just like I wouldn't put it past like I forget, but I was watching going down conspiracy TikTok. I was watching a TikTok. Dude was showing on his short just little anomalies on the Doppler radar of, I believe it was Milton, or no, it was Helene. And there were just at certain points in the storm, it was just there were just little like anomalies that just should not have been there, that just seemed like, wait a second, maybe they are manipulating the weather. But at the same time, you can't just go straight deep into that, because then you could be wrong, right? I mean, everything's
Yeah.
speculation until you have the evidence. As my father would say, if you don't have the proof, and my mother, if you don't have the proof, then what do you have?
Correct. It's just like what you know, no one can control how you think. Like
Hmm.
I there's no harm in potentially thinking that thinking these things. It's just there's reality and then there's theory. Like
Hmm.
and you have to realize that some of this stuff is just theory. Like
Hmm.
as much as I believe in most of it, to be frank, but they're just theories. And if somebody comes with me with the evidence to prove, hey, that anomaly was just a blip on the radar, and here's how, here's why,
Hmm.
uh, you know, I'm open to that evidence.
Yeah.
I'm not. My tinfoil hat isn't duct taped to my head where like it can come
Hmm.
off. Like I have
Hmm.
seen no evidence, or no one has shown me enough evidence to believe that there isn't some outside of factor or group or circumstance that is causing these situations. So it just doesn't seem natural. And that's one thing about Mother Nature. It's fickle. It's a fickle bitch, and
Hmm.
she can be heartless and cruel. And
Yeah.
but it just history has a tendency of you know there's patterns and there's things that repeat themselves. And weather is
Hmm.
normally pretty accurately tracked based on, okay, we know that
The
it gets cold in the winter and it gets hot in summer. Like there's
hmm
space and like the alignment of the planets and stuff that explain that stuff.
Well, not
Supposedly,
to the climate apologists of the far left. I mean
of
that
course.
it's getting, it's hot. It's 90 degrees with a humidity of 80% and an heat index of 100. Oh my God, we're gonna
Yeah.
burn alive.
Well, that's only because you don't drive a Prius.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Only reason. Like
Yeah.
obviously, if everyone just bought a Prius, we would be fine. But you guys don't understand that. Everybody just go get a
Exactly.
Prius.
Just get a
Problem
Prius.
solved.
Yeah. I
Problem
mean,
solved.
50 miles.
Toyota.
Hey, honestly,
I'm not
50
knocking
miles to the
Priuses.
gallon.
It sounds
Exactly. I
pretty
mean,
good right now, doesn't it?
it does. It
Yeah.
does. I
I don't
mean,
care. Like it sounds pretty good. All jokes aside though, obviously you're not going to catch me in a Prius, but well, actually if you gifted me a Prius, I would probably drive it. But um, it's
s-
not my choice per se, not
hey,
my type of car.
I drive a
But
Prius when I go out on my patrols for my security job. I drive a Prius.
pretty nice vehicle.
It's pretty it drives pretty smooth. You're not gonna
Yeah.
catch me in a Prius on my own time, but
I get
if
what
you
you're saying.
gifted it to me, I would drive it.
Yeah, I'm
I
not too
mean,
picky. I have
yeah,
pride, but not that much.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, and like I said, 50 mile, and in these times, these dire times, these inflated, bad, poorly economic times,
Yeah.
hey, I will take a Prius that gets me 50 miles to the gallon.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So,
The problem is though, we should probably all be driving tanks that run on water, but whatever.
hey,
Nah,
I'm down with the tank too.
it's a
You
legacy
you
right there, like a conspiracy right there.
Right.
it's-
That's
yeah,
another one.
I actually I am of the belief that we should all be able to have anything our government has. So I'm for tanks, especially tanks that drive on water, and I'm all for tactical nukes.
See, but the
Wouldn't
tanks
have.
I'm talking about are like, they're really just bulldozers where you just take a bunch of sheet metal
Oh,
and you pile it
oh,
all on the side of the bulldozer,
even
right?
better,
Yeah, you
even
got to
better.
everybody
Yeah.
get you
Rest
a
in peace, Marv.
yeah, Marv R.I.P. Get you one of
So
the
we're
a 2015 killdozer.
we're all gonna pitch in together and donate a bunch of that outro QR code so that we can all buy a used tank and pull a more special up in Washington D.C. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
I'm not
You just
saying
got us
that.
canceled. You just got us You said it, Andrew. Yeah, you just got us canceled before we
Go,
even started.
you can go to Andrew's house, not
You're
mine.
you're fired. But yeah. Speaking
all
of
all
technology,
joking aside.
all joking aside, I wouldn't mind going to Lindsey Graham's house with a killdozer. With him not in it, he can be not home. He's just gonna show up to no house because fuck that war pig.
That's right.
So, but speaking of technology, since we basically got up on that, uh, what do you think about the military grade weaponry and technological advances and that are obviously our own government doesn't want us to know about, but it's evident. I mean, just look at the evolution of our military and stealth weapons and planes and all that. Um, what are they
Yeah,
alien?
I've always been into techno music. It's
Dead
been one
Mouse
of
5?
yeah, no, it's more like some Aphex Twin or
Amen,
some
brother.
Boards of Canada or something. I've been
Yeah.
a tech fan my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Some foreign
Brian
stuff.
Eno.
Yeah, some real ambient stuff.
Some ambient, some killer stuff. Steve Roach, Harold Budd.
Yeah, yeah, those are all the
So
boys.
everybody,
All the
this is a
shout outs.
plug. So if you wanna just clear out and no longer watch, just go over to YouTube and just get airport soundscapes by
Yeah,
Brian Eno.
yeah, or get like music for airports or the
Yeah.
Apollo mission soundtrack and just take a
Hmm.
nap. Nothing
Exactly.
like, I mean, I'm telling you, everyone should listen to ambient music. It's really good for your stress.
It really is, actually.
It's super killer.
I
Super
mean,
killer.
especially in today's day and age where we just are in a high anxiety society.
Yeah, I noticed that, me growing up, like it was all metal music and rap and everything, and then like us old farts now, we start mellowing out a little bit. Need some
Hmm.
of that good old Brian Eno. Take a nap too.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, but every so often you kind of still need to jump into that Wu Tang
Oh
because Wu
yeah,
Tang is forever. Wu Tang is
yeah.
for the kids, and Wu
For the
Tang is forever.
children. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Woo, dang.
So
But
it
anyway, back
not
to
only
the
that, but
topic.
yeah, presidents are temporary. Everybody, Wu Tang is forever.
Oh yeah. Dang. So
What is the temporary? It's the deep state.
The deep state.
Right. Deep State is forever. Wu Tang is for infinite and
Yes.
future. But yeah,
So,
Wu Tang is a lifestyle, and I get it. Like, I feel like
hmm
I'm pretty hip to Wu Tang. But uh, back to the alien. Or wait, what were we talking about? Technology. Like,
technology,
I
alien tech. You
yeah,
think
I
it's
think
alien?
probably. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
realistically, what the hell else is it? Like, you could go back to like biblical times or like or older than that. It's like, so is it? We're getting this technology for somewhere. I just have this hard time believing. Whatever, tinfoil hat on again. But
hmm
um, where does the tech come from? We go from you, our lifespan. We'll just talk about us three. We're
hmm
what the oldest one of us is what 36. Like
I think we're
um
all 35, man. Don't make me that
35.
old.
I'm
I
30.
don't
I'm
know.
34.
30. Okay,
Oh,
young
baby.
blood. But yeah, you
Young
know what I mean.
blood.
I just figured I didn't know if
Yeah.
Andrew was a bit older. But
It's because I'm
yeah,
bald, isn't it?
that was
Yes.
not it at all. I forgot.
It's because of the beard.
I know your birthday, Zach. So
Yeah. And
um,
I know his birthday. Zach's birthday was just recently, so everybody if you're in the chat and want to just shout out happy belated birthday. I mean, Zach just turned 35 on Easy E's birthday. He
easy
shares a
E,
birthday with Easy E.
easy. Um, but yeah, like uh, you know, the technology explosion in our lifespan. Like
hmm
what's always interesting to me, and I've talked about it recently, even with people, is that
hmm
I have had like I lived a childhood where I was riding bikes and like playing
hmm
outside and like rubbing sticks together and throwing mud
Yeah.
and being a kid, and then riding a bike to people's houses or wandering the streets or playing and building snow forts and clubhouses, and then like we would also play PlayStation or N64 in the house. But like if you wanted to play a game, you went to your buddy's house in person and played a game. But
hmm
so we're talking like VHS tapes, like going to Blockbuster. Like I don't even think Redbox is a thing anymore. The technology is just so advanced now. It's just in my lifespan, it's gone berserk. Like
hmm
we didn't have cell phones growing up until we were like in our high school, like middle school,
Yeah.
and now we have computers in our pocket. Like
hmm
and like good computers. Like some of these phones are crazy, but they're
Outrageous.
computers. They're better than
hmm
everything, any computer we ever had as kids. I had a compact Presario in 1995. It's the first computer my grandma bought for us, and
hmm
great computer. It was fantastic. Was on the internet on dial-up back in
hmm
96, 97. As a kid, playing silly stuff, playing game, playing Gundam Wing, Allied
Newgrounds.
Assault on Cartoon
Oh
Network.
yeah. CartoonNetwork.com, man.
Yeah,
Those are the
yeah.
days.
Or like Cartoon Orbit, or like the old school stuff. Like, but the
Newgrounds.
technology yeah, Newgrounds, Homestar
hmm
Runner,
Yep.
everybody.
Yeah,
But
we.
everybody, I gotta do it. Everybody,
Oh, John Wano.
everybody. I
Oh,
tell
I
you.
mean that was our childhood, man.
Yeah.
Like, and you
Or
look at
like
the kids
MSN
now, and
chats, and like
hmm
now it's like you can just like these kids don't see each other and stuff, and whatever, that's besides the point. It's just
yeah,
technology, man. Like your grandmother wouldn't have fucking dreamed about a cell phone, well, she
hmm
would have because like the 80s, but I bet your great grandmother wouldn't have, my great
yeah.
grandfather wouldn't have, like they wouldn't have, like, what do you mean you have a phone in your pocket? Are you
What is
fucking
a phone?
crazy? Yeah, well, they had
Yeah.
phones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what is
I
a pocket phone?
yeah, exactly.
I seem to I seem to remember seeing a video some years ago about a guy who was apparently a time traveler who had a cell phone back in like the 1920s or something like
I
that.
saw that guy. Well, the guy who
Yeah.
had like the graphic shirt on, like on the Wi-Files or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he had like a shirt on and some weird goggles and like this camera phone looking thing. And then this one lady had like a phone up to her ear. It was like some guy in a picture on a bridge in Seattle. They said he was a time
Hmm.
Yeah.
traveler. He probably fucking was. Or he was just some weirdo with a weird
He
ass fashion sense.
he was. He might have been, man. Speaking of time travel, actually, let's transition to that, man. Let's get into some really, really weird, strange things that even the church wants to suppress. The Book of Enoch. Speaking of
Yeah.
time traveling, I'll let you take the floor on this one, Zach, because I know that you've read the Apothecrus, so
Yeah, I'm
I
looking
I
at a
butchered
copy of it
that so
right
bad.
now. Yeah, I mean, I don't like Enoch is one of those weird stories, man. Like it's
It,
just like every other like ancient text that's out there that's like pre-Bible, but at the same time as the Bible, and like
mm-hmm.
what as the Bible as we know it, and then like so it's like what do you consider Enoch? Like is it and this is a broad open question. Is it because like Enoch is associated with the King James Bible, the Christian Bible we all know, like
Yeah.
because Enoch is mentioned in the King James Bible. Like
Well, he's Noah's great grandfather or
I think his great
grandfather.
grandfather. I think it
Yeah.
was his great grandfather. He was Enoch
Mm-hmm.
was Noah's great grandfather, and like that whole story, it's like to me, it's like just like we were talking about the Anunnaki and these like creation mythos. It's like very comparable to that. What's interesting about
Mm-hmm.
Enoch, in my opinion, is it's like the antediluvian time. So it's like the time prior to the flood. Like
Yeah.
if you like biblical history and you look into pre-flood mythos of like there's some
Mm-hmm.
crazy stuff going on back before the flood. There were these
Mm-hmm.
Genesis 6 talks about these. It says that these the sons of God came to earth
Mm-hmm.
and they saw these women, the human women, the daughters of
Mm-hmm.
man, and found them fair, and basically had children with them. Like so that they
Mm-hmm.
made this unholy pact with us. It just like
Yeah.
it really comparable to how in Anunnaki where I don't want to butcher his name, but Anke or
Yeah, Anki or Enki. I
Enki,
I
one of the two
yeah.
brothers
And then what is it? It's either in pronounced Enlil or Onlil.
is, and
But yeah.
he was the overlord of us, correct? Enlil, and then
Ink, Inky
Anki.
was I think Inky was actually the overlord of us, and Enlil.
I
It's
think
weird because they
I think it's
they
backwards. One was
yeah
trying to help us, and I think it was
yeah
Enki or
yeah. Like
Anki.
Anu, their father ended up going back to the home world, and he
Yeah,
left it to his sons, and then they had
yeah,
a rivalry together, and
right.
Enlil
Because
want his shape of
to
humanity
enslave
wanted
us.
to keep us enslaved,
Yeah,
and Enki basically or Anki looked at us and said, "Well, hold up, they definitely have more than just being slaves. So why not
yeah.
teach them, and then they can work with us?"
Well, I supposedly
So,
he gave us the ability to breed and reproduce,
hmm
and and then gave us like art and whatnot. And it's so the comparison I'm making is in Enoch. It talks about how like the Watchers, who was this angel group group of angels that came from heaven, were sent to heaven to basically watch over God's creation, which was us.
hmm
And like time frame is weird on this. I've talked to many people about it. It's like, is it how far after the like the basically the first sin or the major sin at
hmm
the garden? Like, is it during that? Is it after? I'm assuming it's after, because like it's a weird question. I've talked recently to somebody about it. It's like, was
hmm
how many like was was it just Adam and Eve in the garden, or did they reproduce in the garden? Like
yeah.
because I know God talks about
Or is the
some of this.
garden an? Oh, go ahead.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, or is the garden an allegory for, say, an Anunnaki breeding ground
Maybe,
for,
yeah,
or
maybe, and
testing
then
ground, I should say.
yeah, maybe, or some type of like okay, because like yeah, part of the mythos is that like they created us. created us to
Mhm.
be slaves or at least workers to harvest gold because they needed gold
Mhm.
to fix Nibiru, which is the
Mhm.
tenth planet where, and they had some conflict on their home planet where I don't know if they were just losing energy, et cetera, whatever. And it kind of makes
Mhm.
sense because you're like, if you were an alien race that was super, way older than us, had a lot of technology, you probably would end up on Earth because you're like, okay, Earth. Let's say Earth is the only place you can find gold. I have no evidence of that, but
Mhm.
let's just assume that's a fact. So they come here because they know that like, okay, I need gold, and I need gold, or I need to get as close to the sun as possible to harness enough energy from it, and without dying. Like so, basically, as like you've heard Bill Nye and all these scientists say it, like we're
Mhm.
basically as close to the sun as you can get without basically burning. Like
Yeah.
if you get any closer to the sun, you're screwed. That's why if
Mhm.
we ever were to explore other planets, we'd have to go to like Mars or somewhere farther out away from the sun
Mhm.
because we could deal with it better than catching on fire.
Yeah.
So, yeah, um, it just kind of makes sense, like that's a creation myth. And then with the Nephilim, that were the offspring of these fallen angels and the daughters of men, they're this race of people, and they taught us all these, like, the ways of war, the ways of weaponry, the ways of taught women to paint their faces and wear makeup and do art and music and all the, not just women, men too, but like, you know taught us all these things that were perversions of God's will, or of what he wanted of us, and that's eventually why the earth had to be flooded. Like and then in
Mhm.
in the Anunnaki mythos, it talks about, which is Sumerian, correct? It talks about there's a deluge as well, or like we were talking about the great war between brothers, and then all this conflict and strife happens, and they're like throwing around
Mhm.
nuclear bombs and all this stuff, and this is pre-diluvian, so
Mhm.
it's almost like there was this technology that was in, like, ancient astronaut theory, basically.
Yeah.
Like, there's this
Well,
technology that was before us. He's
yeah.
talked. There's ancient authors and even modern authors and stuff that talked about the land of Thule, Atlantis, Agartha. All these
Mhm.
places and these ancient sites that are that are advanced technologies, and there's all these magical things, and like the center of the earth, and there's this group of race of beings there, and it's like, are they descendants of these watchers? Are they descendants of the Anunnaki? Or did, like, is there a second incursion that happened after God destroyed the descendants of the Nephilim, after he destroyed the Nephilim and us in the flood? Did some of
Mhm.
them make it? Like, there's all this stuff that you can speculate on. But to me, I mean, the story kind of makes sense. Like,
Mhm.
it makes sense, and there has to be some explanation for all this. We didn't just get really smart all of a sudden. I'm sure technology and the communication, and that's been the argument. It's like, well, as communication lines got better, more people could, like, talk and have conversations, and it's like, so you have the best of Russia, you have the best of Sweden, you have the best of Yugoslavia, you have the best of Africa, all these
Mhm.
brilliant minds working together and working on this stuff. It's like, I just don't buy that. It's too fast. It just felt like it's too fast for this technology to have come up out of nowhere. And if they always make the argument, you are, if this is what they're giving us, what does the government have? Look at the
Yeah.
stuff we have.
Mhm.
So the government has to have shit that is, like, just absolutely beyond what we could even imagine. It's just crazy to
Yeah.
me.
Well, that goes on to the point of after 1947 with Roswell. That's when the government sort of went in lockdown with information and tried to become more secretive. I mean,
Right.
not to say that they weren't already as secretive as they could be, but they truly made sure that they held that military industrial complex to a T, hidden in their own little niche
Oh
partnership
yeah, they
monopoly.
yeah, and that's the
So,
thing. It's like you could make the argument. It's like, So why did they get hush hush on Roswell? Is it because it was a group of aliens that weren't the ones that had made the deal with Eisenhower, or like
Mhm. Mhm.
it was it a different group of aliens? Like if there was already a deal, which you've probably heard this conspiracy, and many of the listeners probably have, about
Yeah.
why that cattle mutilations and abductions happen, is that there was a deal made in the 40s. Maybe you've heard about it, where Eisenhower went
Mhm.
missing for multiple days, was
Mhm.
supposedly sick at the Air Force base, but he went missing for a few days, and supposedly he had a top secret meeting with these aliens and or this other race of people, and
Mhm.
they basically shared technology with them in exchange for the basically exclusive rights to take us, the public, out of our beds at night and do
Mhm.
experiments on us, and like
Mhm.
and do that to farm animals and us,
Mhm.
and a lot of like abduction people, like you'll talk about look at information of people that have been abducted, and they'll talk about so much of the same stuff. Like it's funny that all these aliens somehow look the same, like it,
Mhm.
I have a hard time believing that Whitley Strieber's communion, like, how come every alien, not everyone, but there's just a large number, look like the typical grays?
Yeah.
It's just odd to me. So it's like,
Yeah.
just out of nowhere, all these random people from all over the world happen to see the same
Mhm.
fucking entity, if it was a hallucination. And
Mhm.
if it was a
It's weird.
hallucination, look at
Yeah.
Crowley talked about what was the entity that Crowley saw? If you know what I'm talking about, when he went in his
Yeah.
trances and he saw that
Yeah.
entity, and it looked exactly like a gray alien. So it's like, okay,
Mhm.
maybe aliens are demons. Maybe they're this demonic
Yeah.
force that is out there,
Mhm.
and it's really just a thinning of the veil, that when they're coming through or allowing themselves to be seen by us, or their cloaking goes off or something happens, we see them,
Mhm.
and they
Or
always look.
maybe or maybe the grays, as everybody's saying, these are the demons or the watchers that we hear about in Genesis and in the Apocryphal readings and the Book of Enoch. So
Yeah.
maybe these are and these are who are the ones sent to conduct these experiments or make the greetings, make the deals. Uh, these are the ones that are hands on to the Anunnaki, so that they don't have to be directly involved. So
Yeah,
maybe yeah,
I
or
feel like it's all just not misidentified, but it's got a million names, but it's the same thing.
mhm,
It's a demonic entity, or
mhm,
it's like, and I'm not saying it like, oh, it's a demonic entity. Like, I'm just saying that is like
mhm,
the average person. I just I'm assuming most people are Christian, and I know that's not true, but like, just for a lot of people that are Christians, they'll like think of it as a demonic entity, or it's some kind of spirit that is out there that's left behind, or like,
mhm,
let's say it's the if when the Nephilim die, if they're not created by God, and God is one that puts our souls in our bodies, correct? Like,
mhm,
so if God creates you with a soul and you have the spark of life or whatever, if
mhm,
if you're made in this unholy communion between angelic beings, are you going to have a soul? Probably not. Because God didn't breathe the breath of life in you. It just
yeah,
happened out of a weird circumstance. So to me, it's like, where do those souls go? You've always heard that you have to have a soul to be able to move on.
mhm,
So it's like, where do they go? If you don't have a soul, you don't get to go to heaven. You don't get to go to hell. Where are you going? You're
mhm,
going straight to wander the earth forever. Like, and
mhm,
and 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 maybe those are the demons we're seeing out there.
yeah, or the Hillary Clintons.
Maybe. I don't. I mean, all I'm saying is, if historically, if some of these ancient gods or ancient deities from the times of old, obviously, American schools love to preach about the Greek pantheon and the Roman pantheon and the all these gods, but they don't go into a ton of detail about Japanese Shinto religion, or like ancient
Mm-hmm.
gods of China or the Far East, or even of even of like the Anunnaki and like Babylon and all these, like, you would have to take some advanced courses, so they don't talk about that part of history.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if all these gods are really are just demons that are part angel or angelic being, and
Mm-hmm.
they have this power, to us would be like magic, so they'd be like gods.
Mm-hmm.
If I went back in time tomorrow and I pulled a big lighter out of my pocket to a bunch of cavemans, I'm God. Like,
Oh yeah.
or something. Or I'm a
Well,
witch and they just burn me. But uh,
that could happen too. But I
yeah,
mean that brings up a nice point because that's we can look at that through the history through the lens of history in our modern times, like in the 40s, like when we were going in the 30s, 40s, 50s, when we were on these Pacific islands. I mean, a lot of these people that were still primitive, they saw the food drop parachute coming from the helicopter or the plane. I mean,
hmm
what do you expect? What do you think they expected it was coming from? It was coming from the gods. I mean, so it makes a whole lot of sense on what humans in their own psyche and in their own perceptions are going to uh, effectively see for themselves when you don't know the unknown. So
yeah,
it's it
you got to
is.
fill in the blank, and your imagination might
Mm-hmm.
fill in the blank. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's just odd. It's just a cool concept, in my opinion. It's something neat to speculate on and to
Mm-hmm.
discuss. I've always been interested in the subject.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I feel like it all fits. The older you get, the more you kind of realize that, like, hey, there might be a little more to reality than what the box that society has told us about, or
Mm-hmm.
that applies to, I like the way you guys think about politics and stuff. Like, you guys are thinking untraditionally, thinking outside the box,
Out of the
using
box,
your
yeah,
heads.
unorthodox.
Yeah, unorthodox thinking, using your fucking heads rather than just, following some doctrine that was made in a time before you that doesn't apply to today's society or to culture, and just following it blindly. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you got to do what's best for you and your family, or you and your the way you want to live, just like
Mm-hmm.
with politics, or the way that you want to be governed.
Yeah.
So
So.
it all applies. I just think, like, if anyone takes anything away from this, like, little conversation we have, it's just like, do your own thinking, and, like, not you might think, like, okay, this guy's crazy, like, he's just a wackadoodle tinfoil hat guy. But it's like I said, do I believe all this stuff? No. Do I? But is it cool, or is it a fun concept? Is it pastime? Yeah. And at the end of the day, if I'm wrong, who gives a shit? Like, what
Exactly.
difference does it make?
Exactly.
Like, I don't think nothing we're talking about is necessarily life or death. We're just talking about
Mhm.
alternative thought processes.
Yeah.
Pitching a
So,
concept.
Yeah.
exactly.
Right. Right.
Well,
Absolutely.
let's transition from right there. I hate to cut that off because this has been a hell of a conversation. I hate to stop it right here. But Buds in reality. If you really want something that's real, unhinged, and listen to a guy that just has a hell of a lot to say, speaking of politics, or lack thereof, because fuck politics. The number one libertarian podcast in all of Detroit, Buds in Reality. Go check it out. So, and speaking of, we were just getting onto the touchy subject of Christianity, but who touched the thermostat? Who touched it.com? You can get all your Liberty apparel over there. Cool stuff. Uh, Dude is awesome. Go follow him over on X. the TikToks, Instagram, wherever. Go to his website, whotouched.com, get some Liberty apparel. And you can also get some Christian apparel. So yeah, because show your love for Christ, man. Christ is King. Okay, so he has a lot of political statements, a lot of religious statements. Prove to the world that you are you because you are only you because of Christ. And I mean that's basically how I look at it. So I only have the strength that Christ can give me. So
Right.
and on top of that, you can also get this over here. Speaking of demons, communism
True
is very
classic.
demonic. Classic shirt. You can get that over at whotouchedit.com. So cop it, man. I gotta rep it. I rep it. I like repping it. It's a great political statement. You know how many people I've actually walked around and they just like pointed. I'm like, what? Communism is demonic. What? What does that mean? I'm like, well, it is demonic. It's just a great conversation starter. So, but enough of that. Let's get right back into it. So, I mean, so we were discussing uh and I got a cat that just ran right into my mic. Wow. We were discussing about how what were we just yeah, transition for me, Andrew. Uh, cat just
Uh,
messed me up.
you're good. Uh, we're
Say
just,
hi. You're a
hey,
star,
what's going
Julia.
on?
Meow.
Yeah.
So,
Oh man. But
sorry about that. I lost track of
no, you're
thought.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. I, I
You're
lost
a
track of what we were talking about too. I'm sorry.
you're a terrible co-host. You're
I
fired.
know. I
So,
know. I know.
no, we were discussing about the the soul of mankind, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, your perception is your own perception. I mean, who cares what you want to think, what you want to do, what you want to get yourself into, what you believe. I mean, it all comes down to this. You're going to die someday, right? Whatever you believe is going to be trapped with you. So if like I'm a Christian, right? I believe that my soul is eternal and one day I will reach the right hand of the Father, aka heaven, paradise. I will have eternal life. But if that's not the case, I'm still going to hold on to my faith, but if that's not the case, then what's it hurting? What is it going to
Yeah,
hurt? I
that's
mean,
what I've
I'm
always
not going to
thought. It ain't gonna
yeah,
hurt
I'm not
nothing.
gonna. Yeah, exactly. Like I'm not gonna hurt. I'm not gonna know that I'm dead because I'm gonna be dead.
Yeah,
But
no one's gonna be
I'm
like,
definitely
told
gonna
you,
know if I have a. Yeah. So it's not like
told
some
you,
atheist.
told you there was nothing.
Exactly. It's not like
Yeah,
some atheist person is gonna walk up to a lifeless dead body of an atheist person is gonna be able to whisper to my dead corpse, rotting corpse. I told you.
yeah, told you,
It's like we're dead.
dumbass. Right,
So.
like it makes no difference. Like what? That's
Hmm.
my thought exactly. Like doesn't make a difference to me. Like if and I don't, if you're not Christian, that's fine. Like
Hmm.
I don't care if you're Buddhist, whatever. Just like be you, think the way you want to think. Like live the way
Hmm.
you want to live. Just live with because that's not what's going to be on your tombstone. It's not going to be like this guy uh, you know, Zach died and he was a really good Christian. I doubt it's going to say that. It would say, like, he was
Hmm.
a good son or a good father or a good, I don't know,
Hmm.
like a great
Yeah.
friend or, like, it, we're not judged by that kind of stuff
No.
when we die, we
Hmm.
don't remember those things. We remember the deeds you did on Earth, as in like, were you a good person on Earth? Were you a good friend? Were you, did you help your friends when they needed it?
Yeah, that's the legacy, right? That's your
That
legacy that you're gonna
that
uphold from.
is your legacy. Yep, absolutely. I
Andrew,
couldn't put it better myself.
you missed the cue, man.
I
You were
know.
supposed to say
I'm sorry.
the legacy right.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's because I've totally did that every episode.
Well, you're supposed to not miss the bit, man. But yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah. So, and speaking of that, and going back to the Book of Enoch, furthermore, and why I honestly, why I think that like the Catholic Church, I mean the inner workings of the church wants to try to suppress the Book of Enoch is, and I haven't, I need to read it. I mean, I do actually need to finally read it. I'd love to, but I know you have. I know you know a little bit. But is it true that in the Book of Enoch, you effectively are told what the afterlife is? Like Enoch is shown the afterlife, and I mean when he's taken up to heaven or the spaceship or whatever you want to call it, depending on your
Well,
rhetoric or your
that's
belief
the
structure.
concept. Is that like Enoch was supposedly one of the few, maybe one of two. I want to say maybe Ezekiel went to heaven without being dead. Like so
Elisha.
that Elijah. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yes,
Elisha
Elijah.
was taken up in a chariot of fire, body and
Chariot of
soul.
fire. So alive was the
Hmm.
concept, though, right? Like so,
Hmm.
of those, I think he was one of the two, maybe three. I hate to
And I
misquote the
think it,
Bible, of course,
I think
but
it was also Ezekiel as well. I believe
maybe
Ezekiel also.
because wasn't
Yeah.
it is Elijah, and so one of the two or maybe three that entered heaven without and was shown the heavenly realm without being dead. So like kind of got to come back and like knew all this stuff. So
Yeah.
like Enoch was a very well versed kind of guy, kind of knew his way
Hmm.
around things, and that's why if you look into the Book of Enoch, it talks about the Nephilim actually approached Enoch to try to be an intermediary between them and
Hmm.
God, because there was a time when they realized that their punishment was coming. They realized that, hey, like or
Yeah.
keep getting all this, like we all have this shared vision of like basically the world flooding, or like this
Hmm.
large catastrophe that's going to happen, and kind of looks like we're all going to get smoked. So
Hmm.
what's
Hmm.
what the heck? So then they like this prophecy is revealed, and then they go to Enoch to be like, hey, can you go talk to dad for us, and try to get us out of trouble. You know what I mean? Like,
Pretty
and
much. Yeah.
obviously we know that didn't happen. We know that they were
Hmm.
cursed to die and destroy themselves. And part of the punishment of, well, the people that were being punished mostly were the Watchers, and the part of their punishment was to watch their offspring, whom they loved, which were the Nephilim, which was the sons that they
Hmm.
had with the women of Earth, to watch them destroy each other and to kill each other and to die off,
Hmm.
and for that entire race of people to be destroyed. And because there, like it talks about, in that time there was great evil, there was nothing but wickedness in man's heart, and men were nothing but evil. Everything they thought
Hmm.
was evil and wicked. And we're getting, not to go on this like tangent, like this is a religious podcast or something, but like it just the more
Kind of
time
is.
goes on, it kind of seems like we're getting closer and closer and closer to that. Like, everything seems like, people have more evil in their hearts today than they ever have,
Hmm.
myself included. i'm
Yeah.
not um you know I'm not above this, like, um it's just there's a lot of wickedness in man, and I
Hmm.
learned a long time ago from, I wasn't always the best guy. You can attest to that.
Mm.
But I've tried to, kind of pay my dues and keep on trucking, but I just feel like the wickedness is getting more commonplace as time, like,
Hmm.
it's just like people just don't know how to act. They don't know how to respect one another's boundaries. They don't know how to be nice to each other. It's just
Yeah.
nothing but hatred for their fellow man. And it's not just politics, it's in every aspect of their life. Everything.
Well,
Like,
I think it has something to do with the politics. Honestly, I
Well,
think
it does, but that's
yeah,
because like ultimately, and you guys may disagree with me on this, but like because the politics are designed to divide us.
yeah,
It's part of
tool
a
of the state
two-party
as
system. They want you to be a slave. Like
yeah,
it doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, we know with the two-party system, our votes don't mean shit. And I'm not just talking about like, oh well, I voted for Trump and he didn't get elected. I'm talking about like your vote does not matter at all, regardless. I don't care who
no,
the hell you voted for, and even if it was a perfect election tomorrow, and there was no tomfoolery or nobody rigged elections or anything, which whatever, I won't even speak on that. But let's just say that we could guarantee that wasn't going to happen. It would still wouldn't fucking matter.
Andrew, would you like to drop a promo in response to that about Lysander Spinner?
Oh man. Ah, do I gotta? Okay.
Yes, you've been quiet,
It's
man.
either
So
I know. Well, I just been thinking about other things that we've been talking about. So, uh, I mean, the old quote is either the Constitution is to authorize the government as we had, or it is powerful or powerless to prevent it. And in either case, it should doesn't deserve to exist. By Lysander Spinner.
exactly. I mean, that's the whole point of our voting system is it's a it, it's a manipulation tactic. It's to divide us and in order to make us perceive that
It's
we're
a
putting
rug
these
pull.
yeah,
Yep.
we're putting these representatives in these powerful seats in the hope that they have
Our
our
best
own
interests,
interests. Yeah, exactly. Our own
which they
interests are.
just simply don't.
Hmm. Which, to Spooner's case, he actually wrote this in No Treason, uh, is that they don't. It's a secret ballot. Everything's secret. You are not individually known by those who are supposed to represent you, and
Right.
so if you're not individually known, then you're only known in a collective, which means only the majority really matters. The minority is going to get trampled on, but
Right.
who exactly is the majority that voted for these representatives if you are not known?
It's who it's who they wanted it to be. It's like
Hmm.
if the it's like if the Democrats win, it's oh well we're gonna fill this Democratic agenda, and now it's like dude I don't. I'm not saying it's not always like this. It always has been, but it's like, I
Hmm.
mean, even the political ads are just getting nasty. They're getting downright
They are.
despicable. They're calling each other basically names. It's like in 1 year's time, and on the next election, not this one, but the next 4 years from now, there's gonna be a Jerry Springer episode probably. Like it's gonna get that bad. Like,
Yeah, I
oh,
wouldn't be. You mean we're
Condoleezza.
not? Yeah, you mean we're not in the Jerry Springer episode now?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking. It's gonna be official. Like they're gonna
Yeah.
actually be on Jerry Springer. Like, oh, today at 3 o'clock, we're not gonna have a debate. We're gonna have a Jerry Springer episode, and like you're gonna tune in daytime TV, and like Donald Trump is gonna go back up, and Kamala Harris, because Trump's gonna try to run for a third term, and then
Probably.
Kamala Harris, she's gonna want back in there. So then like they're gonna go on Jerry Springer and probably fight. And then you're gonna hear the ding ding ding, and they're just gonna beat the hell out of each other on TV. It's
That
gonna be
doesn't sound like
crazy.
a fair fight, though. I think Kamala needs to sub in for somebody. Big Mike, where are you at?
Yeah, somebody.
Oh, boy.
Big Mike Obama.
Yeah,
That's
Mike is
right.
coming. He's coming for that ass. Yeah, I
Well,
just, it is what it is. It's just laughable in my opinion. I
mhm.
feel like I've done all the talking in this show. You can tell me to shut up if you want.
Oh no, you're good, man. I mean, it's not like you're on
That's
here
what
all the time. So
yeah. That's why we brought you on, man. We want you to cut your promo.
Right, right,
So
yeah,
right.
that's as we talk. So I mean
Yeah.
that's what the legacy right's all about, man. It's we're basically just a we're just a carbon copy of Monday Night Raw during the Monday Night Wars. Actually, we're more like WCW Monday Nitro. So Just cut your promo, shoot your shit, and get your voice out to the masses. Because like
Yeah.
this is your perspective, your perception of reality, and what you know, and what you're trying to learn. Like this is what needs to get out. Like that's the message that we want to try to bring. Is we want people to understand that everybody has a different perspective, and everybody has the ability to be left the fuck alone about it.
Right. Yeah, and
Hmm.
that's the thing. It's like you and I have been good friends for best friends for how many years? You know, like I've known
Yeah.
you for 20 years. You and I
Hmm.
have disagreed on politics
Hmm.
for probably 20 years. Like
Yeah.
not always. We have a lot in common, a lot, but we've like we have never seen exactly eye to eye on politics. Like
Hmm.
you know, it's just something it's not me. Like um it's just not my, I'm more into the extraterrestrial and the silliness, the like woo woo stuff. And you've always been more of like the history buff and like into
Yeah.
politics and like
Hmm.
into American history and like and that stuff's super cool. It's just like um and we've still been really good friends, because it's like, okay,
Exactly.
Zach can reach in his bag of tricks and pull out some information about that and keep me educated on that. And then, like,
Mm.
vice versa. We're always learning from each other. And I'm not just
Exactly.
saying me and you, I'm saying, like, all of us. Like,
Hmm.
I'm learning stuff
Yeah.
from you and Andrew, and then you guys are learning stuff from me. And we're, it's just, I don't see how in a microcosm we can all get along. And then, like, sorry, guys, the average American can't. But
It's echo
for the most
chambers.
part, I think a lot of it though is it, and you're right. I think a lot of it is. I think the common American is kind of more like us, like just
Hmm.
going with the flow. They're not worried about this shit. They're worried about going to work on Monday.
Hmm.
They're worried about paying their damn bills. They're worried about if they can afford to, buy sneakers for their kids' basketball game coming up, or if they
Exactly.
can fucking buy groceries to feed the damn kids. Like
Hmm.
that's what people are worried about. And like
Ex-
politics get involved out of sheer desperation. People that like when times get tough and people get desperate, we look for someone who is outside the norm. Like or someone who's
hmm.
different or someone who can because people are getting fed up with this shit. But it's
Yeah.
at the point now where it's like we're so tired of the way it is now, people will accept anything. They'll rebel against anything. Like it doesn't matter if a fucking monkey gets up there. If a monkey gets up and says, "Hey, I'm gonna go against the the doctrine bullshit that you guys have all heard," we're all gonna fucking vote for it because we're like,
Hmm.
okay, we're so tired of the norm that like, hey, some outsider like Donald Trump comes in, and they just vote for him. Like
Hmm.
and I'm not bashing Trump. I'm not. I'm just not just him. Like any
Oh, it's
candidate.
everybody.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
all of them. Like,
He's just a concentration.
yeah, yeah, he's
Hmm.
just the concentration right now because he is like there's certain policies and stuff I agree with him on. Absolutely. Like, it's just the problem is like um it's become more like a fan club now. Like or some of it's become more like a badge of honor where it's like I like Trump. You like that.
Hmm.
Like, or like I'm left, you're right, I'm left. Let's hate each other for no reason necessarily,
Hmm.
You can have differences of opinions, but that doesn't mean that like at the end of the day, like we're not all just people trying to live, try to live the best life they can. And don't get me wrong, like what you see on TV and stuff is what pisses you off because you see just the fucking worst. You see the worst of
Hmm.
humanity at its worst, and you see that, and it's every day. So you just assume that's what society's like, and it's not.
And it's quite weird that the heads of all these media companies are all Jews.
No comment.
So, Andrew, is your mic all right? Did your microphone get turned to
Yeah.
your computer?
No,
It sounds
it's
like
fine.
It sounds like you're flying through the. You're talking to the computer.
Oh,
Turn
I
it.
don't know.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
could be
Check
a.
it. Yeah, technical difficulties, everybody.
How am I sounding?
Yeah, you're sounding good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. There's nothing wrong.
Huh? Huh?
I
You
can
got
hear
an
him
echo.
fine.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's my headphones. So, but but yeah. Anything to add there, Andrew? I try
Oh,
to
I
get you to
just
talk. Stop being
yeah, just
Jamie.
right. I just think stuff we talked about today. Can be interpreted as contractions. The more we advance, the quicker the contractions, and eventually we're going to hit the singularity. And then that's the big question: what happens after that?
Hmm.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that is the big question.
I'm going to put on the tinfoil hat and say that I honestly think that our political leaders all across the world and all the CEOs and major big businesses and all the billionaires, I mean, they're actually reptilians. And shout out to David Icke, badass, love
Yeah,
you. But
maybe
yeah,
we can do an episode short. Like, I'll come back on and we can do a David Icke and like talk, and we'll talk about reptilians and like
yeah, going.
that. But
I
that'd be a
love it.
whole episode.
That would be probably 3 episodes. That'd be like a
Yeah.
three-parter.
Or we could
Yeah,
at least
so.
talk about maybe like maybe his personal life or like his start and like
Hmm.
and then like what his message kind of is at first, and then we could get go
Hmm.
down the rabbit hole if we wanted to. It's cool.
Exactly. And
I just don't want to like just give you the cliff notes on it because it's such an interesting story. He's
it
such a
is.
cool guy. Like, I mean, like,
And he's right.
yeah,
Most of his stuff has been correct.
yeah.
And
He
the off
knows
the
what he's
wall.
talking. Yeah, but he knows what he's talking about, and
Hmm.
he's not just some lunatic. He's like
Hmm.
he was actually a pretty successful guy.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
I
but
just
yeah,
need
we'll
to.
definitely.
I just need to remember listening to an old Coast to Coast AM episode about uh, that a computer scientist and he was talking about like Bitcoin and stuff like that, like back in the '90s. So we had to see if we can get him on
Oh,
nanomachines
yeah.
and all kinds of different stuff.
See, yeah, that was what was so brilliant about Coast to Coast, especially when Art Bell was running it. I mean, he had some wild stuff going on. So what he had a lot of people that gave us a lot of the future, really. The fact that Bitcoin was basically predicted in that episode is just wild. So technical difficulties, everybody. But what more should we dive into to get to the conclusion? While Zach kind of
Uh,
fixes his,
I
you talk.
Another comment about what he was talking about before, and kind of play off of what I was talking about as just a little bit ago, is we was talking about the, how we was talking about the soul and everything and
Mm-hmm.
military technology. You got to think China's been talking openly about creating super soldiers. What happens when there's no soul for a super soldier? You know,
That is a good question on that. What happens when
That's
there's
probably
no
what they
soul
want.
with the super? Mm-hmm. So
Yeah,
what's your
they need.
take on that, Zach?
I mean, well, the problem is like I don't know how much of a soul is part of humanity, and like how much of a soul is necessary to function and to like live,
Mm-hmm.
and like is a soul a necessity of like life? Like one, does a soul fucking exist? That's the real question. I believe it does,
Yeah.
but that's a question. It's a fair question, I think, but
Mm-hmm.
does it exist? And then if it does, like how much of the soul is necessary? Do you need to have a soul to ensure that you're able to function? Like, is it like part of like your pineal gland or something where you're like,
Mm-hmm.
your soul is there and you need it to be able to like cognitively think or like, make decisions or like
Mm-hmm.
problem solve or like, you just, I don't know. I don't have the answer to that.
Yeah, I mean, life in itself, I think we've kind of, and we see it. I mean, as humanity is attempting to play God, and you're seeing AI come about and robotics advance. I mean, obviously, life doesn't necessarily need a soul, but when do you go from just straight life, something that's living, and to someone who actually has the functionality of being human? And I think
Right.
that's where the soul
But
comes into play,
but
is that's humanity.
is a robot alive?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's what I
I
mean. Like I get it,
Mhm.
artificial life and all this shit. Like,
Mhm.
is it alive? Like, is it alive if you have a robot that can tap dance and it can sing you a song and it can do all this, it can iron your
Mhm.
clothes and all this stuff. It doesn't necessarily mean it's alive. Like
Yeah.
it can
It's just doing what
function,
it's
it
programmed to
can
do.
mimic a life, it can mimic a life.
Yeah.
It's just like if we had a magical way to remove souls and it turned you into a flesh bag and you were just there, you still could breathe and stuff.
Mhm.
Are you alive? Like, or if you could somehow have a dead person and somehow reanimate them somehow, like, and you're
Mhm.
filling their lungs with air and you're like robotically moving them and stuff, are they alive? Because
Didn't
that's why I think maybe the soul may be a part of a crucial part of
Yeah.
functioning. Like, you may
Yeah.
need the soul. Like, your soul is like almost like the super glue that keeps all your
Mhm.
stuff together. Because like without it, you can't function.
Mhm.
And that's all
Yeah.
speculation, of course. But
Well, it's
I
your
mean,
conscience. Yeah, if you want to really go into it, it's
right,
at
it's
least
your
your
conscience.
consciousness.
Yes,
Yeah,
but I mean, is that
so
different than your soul?
yeah, that's
You
the
know,
$1 million question, or in
yeah.
today's inflated prices, your $1 billion question.
Right.
So
Like,
you
do
were
you
gonna,
ever have like dialogues with yourself, or you'll like your internal self, or like when you're, you're at a baseball game as a kid, and like you're thinking like, man, I hope I catch a fly ball or something in your own head. You're thinking that,
mm-hmm,
or you're talking. Like, do you have a
mm-hmm,
voice? Does that have a voice? Is that an entity, or is that you? Like, like,
exactly,
is that your soul? Like,
mm-hmm,
your inner narrator, your inner consciousness, like you said,
inner
is,
monologue.
yeah, your inner
mm-hmm.
monologue that you have with your life, and I
Your
think we
ego,
all have
your
that.
id,
Yeah, your id,
yeah, yeah,
and is that something that we all have? And if we do, I think it's just, but is
I
that your
believe
soul?
so.
Yeah, I tend to believe that too because I think it's really important.
Mm-hmm. Andrew, you have something to add?
Not in particular. Not at the time, no.
Oh, nonsense! Chime in. Stop being Jamie, dude. Get away from the Google and say something. You had
Well,
something to say.
no, I mean, the only thing I can think of is relative to this is the concept of soul shock, but that's not
Hmm.
attached to what we're talking about. That's more of a trauma response. So,
Well, I mean, one what it, what is the best scenario though to truly understand life though is that of trauma.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. A lot of our psyches, our realities, our the way we are
Hmm.
as people are built off of our trauma.
Yeah,
it's a
and
function.
Yeah,
an emotional response to a bad scenario that really kind of jolts you.
Or
Not just
kind of
yeah.
a retaliation.
Hmm.
yeah, almost,
Yeah.
yeah, retaliation of it, a side effect of it.
Well, we're almost about to hit the hour and a half mark. We always do this, Andrew. We always go well beyond our hour mark. So, you have anything to ask or add or get Zach's take on anything before we
Well,
conclude?
I just asked that maybe if we do decide be able to reach out to the gentleman I was talking about from the Coast to Coast AM episode, because he's still active scientist. Would you like to join us, Zach?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd love to.
We would love that. Yeah.
Yeah,
The three amigos are back together again.
yeah. I'm willing to
Actually,
keep having fun.
yeah. Well, I say three amigos. Andrew has replaced Big A. Shout out to Big A.
Yeah.
That was the original trio, but
Oh yeah.
welcome to the gang,
All right.
Andrew. You have
Hold
been
on, hold on, hold on.
initiated. You have been initiated. So
Yep. We're just gonna jump you in later.
you don't want to know what jump in means.
Oh, I said hump in.
Good God, help me, people.
JK.
You'll like it. You'll like it. So
Well, now that
this
we're
is
like we're done being idiots.
so this is what it's all about, man. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
I'm
fun. We
so
have fun. We're just here
yeah,
talking, shooting the breeze.
exactly.
I
I mean,
enjoyed
I love you
myself.
to
Thanks
death,
for
man.
having me, guys. Thanks for having
Hey,
me. I
thank you for
appreciate
coming
it,
on.
Andrew.
Always.
I appreciate it, Zach. Perfect. Great show. You know, if schedule, we'll have to schedule some stuff and get together again. We could maybe do that David Icke episode. See, maybe if you get any listeners, this we could like leave it up. Like, hey, the next you could put a poll or something. Be like, ask the listeners what they want the next topic to be, or what I could talk about
Exactly.
anything. So
Exactly.
like,
So I'd love to.
you get somebody comments like, hey, I want to hear about blank. We could talk about it. It ain't no big deal.
hmm And I honestly, I would love to be able to do this like all the time. Have you come back? I
Yeah,
mean,
we
if
can
you
make it a
can.
regular thing. If
hmm
let's just plan it on. We'll do another one, and then we'll just play it out, and
hmm
I'll be a little more prepared this time, and get my bring my computer home and set the webcam up, and you can ugly mug, and be a little
Get to
more
see him next time,
prepared.
guys.
Yeah,
Right.
face reveal.
The face reveal.
Yeah,
So
isn't that a
it's
thing? Yeah.
so,
Face
but
reveal.
with so anything you want to plug out there, Zach, or any final words before we end
No,
it?
just like I said, thanks guys for having me. My final thought would be like I said, just keep on being you guys, and had a blast. Hope to do it again soon, and yeah, for anyone that listened, subscribe or I don't. What do you do? Do you subscribe? Like? What do you do on here?
I think
Follow.
it's all the same, man.
Yeah,
Subscribe, follow, like,
follow,
leave
like,
a
do all
yeah,
that stuff.
leave a
Yeah,
leave a
leave a
review.
Write a
I mean,
yeah,
manifesto.
yeah. Write a
hmm
manifesto. Write two
right,
reviews.
exactly.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
write the manifesto. So,
Right. And
but no,
maybe
this has been fun. Like I said, I am the legacy of Jennifer and Kaiser. I'm Zachary Kaiser. Andrew, any final words?
No, thanks for watching. I really appreciate you guys listening again. So,
That's Andrew Joseph, the modest old guy filled with false humility. So, my buddy Zach, I love you to death, man. I'm so glad that we were able to do this. I mean, really, man, we need to kick it one day,
yeah,
one of these days soon.
been a
So
pleasure.
we've been, but this has been fun. So, but
Awesome.
let's take it out. And if you want to check out the outro, everybody, I swear to God, you'll love it. So, and maybe you can help us out so we can help you out. So, but until next time, peace.
thanks for watching.
Bye.
on Ric Flair. You gotta be able to walk that out and style and profile. Woo!
You really think you're ready for the
You really think you're ready for the Scorpion Deathlock? You think you're ready for a fatal encounter?
This is why they call me the total package. Do you have a pain threshold to withstand the torture rack? Let's find out.
Hallo, hier ist thelegacyright. Wenn ihr High-Flying Wrestling Action wollt, Spinning Sidekick, Top Turnbuckle Dropkick, dann nehmt mich. Der Sieg ist euch sicher. Versprecht euch.
Oh yeah! Watch the flying elbow drop off the top rope. Not only beat people 1, 2, 3, but I hurt him real bad.
It only takes one of 1,000 holds. I think you're man enough for the challenge. You better be ready to wrestle, because you know, when you get in the ring with Eddie Guerrero, it's going to be high-flying and exciting.
Hey, anytime you feel froggy, man, I'll slap on the buzz killer, rip your shoulder right out of socket, Wolfpack style. Hey, funky boy. Like there's a choice here? Good God! Pick the man with the plan. Pick DDP.
Hey, all you suckers out there, you wanna play the game? You wanna play with the big boy? Put your feet on the button, cause when you go down 110th Street, it's gonna be on like neck bone, sucker.
This is Booker T from Harlem Heat, hardcore OG brother from 110th Street. The bit of you punks got the guts to step up to the plate, push the plate.
Yo, Chico, you selected Scott Hall? Get ready for a wild ride on the outside. Hey there! How'd you like to get power pop? Come on, take me. I'm begging you, take me.
You think you got the courage to step in the ring? I think you're gonna wind up in a snap neck with a choke slam.
Technical wrestler, high flyer, brawler. It don't matter what you consider yourself to be. When you're in the ring with the crippler, you're a loser.